Theoretical scenario. You are the equivalent of a human voodoo doll, pumped up with so many drugs you can't feel your face. Your last meal was a homeless man half a mile back in the middle of the Mojave, and you have now come face to face with two cannibals equipped with butter knives and an oversized roach. Do you A. consume even more drugs in a vague effort to reach Super Saiyan Fent, B. pull out the 7-course strange meal buffet to go insane in hopes to unlock the secret schizophrenia fast travel, C. alter 4. If you answer D, let the sleep paralysis Hatman Deathclaw deal with it, then welcome home, and welcome to Fallout Dust. This is Fallout Dust, a total conversion for the critically acclaimed trans-conversion therapy known as New Vegas, that asks the question, what if the irradiated wasteland was somehow even worse than it normally is? 20 years have passed since the base games, and things have not aged well. The cloud from the Sierra Madre, that fuck-ass DLC with the beeping collars, the schizophrenic super mutant, and the mute lesbian, Pyro, has been brought to Vegas, alongside the people who dwell inside of it. Fun! That's not even the worst of it. A massive dust storm from the Divide, where Bear Man resides, has made its way to the Mojave, blanketing the desert with the average visibility in Guangzhou, China. The tunnelers from the Divide have also emigrated, those little basement dwellers that remind me of Asmongold that can tear through power armor surprisingly easy considering their size, and now have made the Mojave their home. But that is honestly just the beginning of our problems. Civilized order has collapsed in this lawless wasteland. The NCR still maintains a presence, but has regressed into isolation and shoot-on-sight policies, which, to be fair, when your average neighbor looks like a methed-out Bradford resident, it makes sense. The Courier has been branded a terrorist and gone into hiding, after he triumphed over Hoover Dam and told General Oliver to fuck off back to California, not realizing that they could just come back with 10 times as many troops. Basic arithmetic was not my Courier's primary talent. That would be gambling. The NCR then returned, forcibly took over the strip, pushed the Courier into hiding, and then everyone lived happily ever after. Except they didn't. Through some experiments that made Unit 731 look reasonable, some civil unrest that makes France look understandable, the Bears' grip over the Mojave faltered and faltered until the cloud escaped. They lost the strip, and Vegas had to pull back to some specific heavily defended areas. The Dam, Camp Golf, and Nellis Air Force Base to name a few. At least they didn't have to worry about the Legion, as after the crippling loss at the Dam due to the Courier, and probably the death of Edward Sallow, Mr. Hegelian dialectics himself, the Legion splintered, and whilst still a presence in the Mojave, they are more tribal raiders than anything substantial, and ones with a specific taste for human flesh. But for now, that's enough of the lore. Let's address how this mod actually changes the game, and how it feels to play. Essentially, it plays like a Rust server, but if everyone was uber racist and insane rather than normally racist and insane, and everyone dies to the equivalent of a light breeze. You start in a number of areas that you access through a dreamscape that blares a version of Begin Again. If you can't tell, there's one through thread here: the absence of anything good. Dust makes you struggle, primarily through the near absence of good loot. Obviously, there are areas where you can find this stuff, but by and large, you will be scrounging for each round of ammo that passes through your rapidly disintegrating weaponry, creating scenarios that make you actually grateful for finding anything more than 3 bullets at a time. The mod is designed to be intentionally scarce, and isn't helped by you having the resilience of a really old Vauxhall Corsa. You die extremely easily. A bullet grazed your ankle, you can't walk fast anymore. A tunneler breathed within a 90-meter radius, you instantly die. Whilst normally I find these type of game mechanics frustrating, it's helped by the fact that everyone else suffers from these same limitations. You can kill practically anything in the Mojave with a single headshot, you just need to live long enough to do so. And if having the constitution of a dying, sick Victorian child wasn't ideal, you also need to eat, sleep, and drink in a wasteland where the combined loot of the last 4 houses I looted was 3 stacks of pre-war money, sexy sleepwear, and some turpentine. So once again, this theme of scarcity is ever present, as you have to constantly remain on the move, looting and praying to find anything resembling water or food or even a bed. And that's not all. You can also go insane. The karma mechanic from the base game that would change depending on whether you gave 2 caps to a homeless man or shot a mini nuke into the refugee camp has been replaced by a sanity meter. Kill innocent people, do copious amounts of drugs, or eat people, yummy, and you will lose sanity. Do enough of these things and you will go permanently insane, unlocking some cool perks like the Scurrier that allows you to bound around the wasteland and mock schizo. Oh, also you will see the Hatman and any other such compatriots that have a chance to send you into fugue state, allowing the only form of fast travel. Oh yeah, also fast travel is disabled. Fun! But now you might be thinking, This is a lot of yapping, but what's the actual goal? Well, what's your first instinct when you are trapped in the irradiated equivalent of Birmingham, to escape? That is the goal. You must traverse the length of the Mojave in hopes of finding some way out of the wasteland, and that is today's goal, along with trying to uncover where exactly this place went wrong. But first, shout out to Isaac Morgan for his video on Dust for reminding me of this brilliant mod. The first time I played Fallout Dust, I bounced off it harder than Benny during a femme fatale run. Despite what my channel may make you believe, I'm not the biggest fan of difficult games. Most of the time I just die a few times, give up, never come back. But Dust was different for me. Whether it was the interesting lore, the appeal of seeing these areas that I'd known for so many years — I first played New Vegas when I was 9 on the 360 in 2013, Christ, I'm getting old — destroyed and torn apart, this area that I had loved reduced to ruins, it had a strange allure. So I came back, explored the wasteland, got past the difficulty, and found myself having fun. Then I stopped. Time passed, I started a YouTube channel, made videos about hard games, and then I saw that video by Isaac Morgan, good video, exploring it, and it all came back to me. So today, especially because the Fallout TV show is doing good, and I love money, let's talk about Dust. Oh yeah, make sure to like and subscribe if you want 100k by the end of the year. Woo, we got this, yay! This video is sponsored by Lost in Cult, makers of premium deep dive books for people who want to feel something other than despair for once. Look, I've spent 70 minutes talking about a mod where I ate 47 people and became a war criminal. You've watched me descend into madness. We both need a break. So let's talk about something that won't give you radiation poisoning or existential dread. Cult of the Lamb. Lost in Cult, the same people who made those beautiful books on Alan Wake, Mouthwashing, and Outer Wilds, have just launched the Cult of the Lamb design books book. And unlike the Mojave, this is actually a place where you'd want to visit. Cute cartoon cult leader? Check. No cloud? Check. Nobody eating each other? Surprisingly, also check. They've got a deluxe edition running until June 16th with all of the good stuff. Tarot cards, patches, art prints, a poster, and a fancy red box that looks infinitely better than the graveyard in a box that is Camp McCarron. It's like the opposite of Dust. Instead of losing your sanity, you gain a lovely bookmark. And if you missed the deluxe edition because you were too busy fighting through irradiated sewers or whatever, the standard edition with just the book is still available. But honestly, get the deluxe while you can. You've earned something nice after watching me commit atrocities for an hour. Lost in Cult makes genuinely incredible books. The kind you actually want to own, not the kind that gives you PTSD flashbacks to experimental bioweapons. Use code NOTSABERLAMB at lostincult.co.uk, or the link in the description for 10% off the Cult of the Lamb collection or anything else in their store. Support them, support the channel, and maybe read something that doesn't end with, and then everyone died. Unlike the Mojave, this one's got a happy ending. Like all great stories, we are going to start in media res. This is 100% a stylistic choice, and not because I accidentally recorded the footage at such high quality that an hour was 1.4 terabytes. Professional YouTuber, by the way. We play as the Survivor, a man who, as the name suggests, has no qualifications beyond is here. He just vibes and has no qualms with committing unspeakable acts of violence to stay in the realm of the living. We are equipped quite good, actually. Numerous weapons, good abilities, and perks, and most of all, we found a suit of power armor. He found it in the nuked-out remnants of the Long 15. The place was flooded with rads and ghouls, but somehow I managed to sprint in, find the armor, some supplies, and run back out. The only consequence is now I have a third ball. Sure, this is fine. We find ourselves outside of Camp Searchlight. If you don't know, Searchlight was a town that got irradiated to hell and back during the war with the Legion just before the events of New Vegas. Some legionary with a death wish dumped barrels upon barrels of radioactive waste into the town and turned the entire place into American Chernobyl. In the base game, it's full of feral ghouls and just all-round bad vibes, kind of like Manchester. In Dust, it's full of those same feral ghouls, bad vibes, the NCR remnants, and the remnants of the Brotherhood of Steel after the NCR decided that committing radioactive war crimes was easier than a frontal assault. Can't blame them, to be honest. And so they chose to relocate from radioactive hellhole to literally radioactive hell. No one said the Brotherhood of Steel was smart. I decide not to venture into Searchlight as I am not stupid. Sure, I'm wearing power armor, but that doesn't mean much when a Gauss rifle round is sent straight from my central cortex before I can say, I don't want to pay taxes. And as much as I'd like to get involved in a freeway gangbang between the Brotherhood, the NCR, and as many ghouls as I could want, instead I head north to Novac and the big dinosaur. Smiley face. That literally just says smiley face in the script. The journey isn't too bad. The good thing about New Vegas is that power armor is just normal armor, so I don't have to worry about stomping around too loud or fusion cores, and instead can just send it to Novac. Along the way, I fight a pack of raiders that I have to reload like twice because New Vegas does New Vegas things, and when I get too close to this corpse, the game crashes. Fun! I also stumble across some tunnelers turning a survivor group into food. They then notice me. I dump many of my remaining rounds into the Tunneler Queen and co, as they can very easily kill me. The fear makes me aim better, apparently. Finally, we get to Novac. This place used to be a rest stop, a motel with a giant dinosaur out front, Dinky the dinosaur, with the sniper's nest in its mouth. In the base game, it serves as a nice midpoint between where you start and Vegas. In Dust, Dinky is a god. The new inhabitants of Novac, remnants of the Legion, have taken up residence. But instead of the Roman LARPers we're used to, they have regressed, back into tribals from whence they came, cannibals specifically, and they worship the dinosaur statue. I find this out for the many notes detailing their worship of the T-Rex, ranting about how the motel god provides. Unfortunately for them, the motel god does not provide adequate protection against 556, as we methodically clear out Novac from these tribals. I find human sacrifices, effigies to their god, and a whole lot of strange meat pies. Whilst it is human meat, I'm hungry, so I take it. Honestly, I should probably feel bad about eating people, but the Mojave is a terrible place to be, and if I have to eat 12 orphans to make my way across it, then goddammit, that is what I'm going to do. Whilst there is more I can say about this place, our time is limited, mainly by thirst, so we quickly gather what we can and move on. Towards Vegas, well, more specifically, Trading Post 188. It used to be a hub where caravans would stop, traders would set up shop, people would do business. Named after the highway overpass, Route 188, that runs over the road. In the base game, it's where you can recruit Veronica, this Brotherhood of Steel scribe who likes punching people as much as a drunk husband in the 50s. When I get there, it's under attack. The survivor remnants are trying, but failing, to fend off a Ferragul attack. Maybe a dozen of them, fast, strong, backed up by glowing ones that heal them with radiation. You need to headshot them to instantly kill them, otherwise they can tank quite a bit. Unfortunately for these poor survivors, they are AI and don't understand that. The survivors, including Veronica in scorched power armor, maybe 5 of 6 of them are trying but failing to fight back. I could help, I don't. They fall, and any ghouls they don't take out, I kill, swoop in and loot them. I strip Veronica's corpse for her power armor. Mine is a bit worse for wear, so I swap and use the remnants of my old armor to patch up her armor. On her corpse is a note talking about someone called Christine, about how she knows Hidden Valley was overrun, that something called SM5 poses a significant threat, and how she heard reports of Searchlight having Brotherhood of Steel, but now she will never find out. But as sad as this is, I keep walking north, towards Vegas. As we make our way further northwards, we pass by Boulder City. Used to be an NCR stronghold, and by stronghold, I mean more borderline graveyard. Back during the opening stages of the conflict between the NCR and the Legion, the NCR Rangers lured the Legion into the town and blew it up. Killed a bunch of Legion and NCR. The NCR called it a strong tactical move, whereas I call it reminiscent of Serbia in the 90s. 20 years down the line, it's full of ghost people. The fuckers from the Sierra Madre, who seem to be able to tank the average ballistic response of an American law enforcement agent when they see an unarmed civilian minding their own business. Bottom line, ammo is not something we have a lot of, and the ghost people are the equivalent of a really annoying black hole when it comes to dumping ammunition into them. Worst part, when they go down, unless you destroy one of their limbs, they get back up and keep coming. You have to blow them apart, make sure they physically cannot move anymore. I can see them from a distance, shambling around the war memorial outside of the blown out city. Maybe a dozen of them. The cloud hangs over everything. Another gift from the Sierra Madre that turns our lungs into soup. The power armor does give some protection against it, but eventually it would seep through. I could probably survive for a few minutes, clear it out and loot it, but I'd have to burn through my ammo, use up my stim packs, and for what? Some cloud people spears, a fission battery, and a feeling of sadness? I choose to just simply make like my father and walk away, marking it mentally as another place that's too fucked to bother with, and I keep walking. Past Boulder City, and we finally reach the outskirts of Vegas proper. And the first thing we encounter is the NCR sharecropper farms. Once places that prove the Mojave was sustainable through borderline indentured servitude, but has now been replaced by a cannibal camp that is affectionately called the Fields of Salvation. The crops that used to exist here are now replaced by rows upon rows of bone effigies. We could sneak around the cannibal commune, but I got power armor and a gun fetish, and people die surprisingly easy to headshots, so we blitz our way through the camp. The resistance is stiffer than Novac, with more weaponry, people, and generally better positions, not to mention a dust storm blows through that obscures a lot of my vision, but the combination of the service rifle and the Sierra armor make it decently easy, and they all fall in time. We loot them for the scraps of ammo they have and the strange meat pies they have, yummy delicious, and then we move on. Our final destination before reaching Freeside proper is the Crimson Caravan Company, or what's left of it. Once a bustling caravan company keeping the Mojave stocked with stuff from out west, it's now little more than a survivor camp full of actually sane people. This, of course, won't last when I'm around. As understandable as it is for the sane and mentally well in the Mojave to automatically shoot anyone who looks suspicious, unfortunately for them, that includes me. Whilst there is quite a lot of people in here, most well armed, they simply don't possess one thing I do. I'm a human, therefore I possess a brain. I think, therefore I am. Through liberal usage of the save system and bullet time, which are just fads, we managed to slowly but surely extinguish one of the last survivor bastions left in the Vegas proper. And before long, they are all gone. Notes found on terminals and on some people reveal that previously around half their number had left in the night with a lot of their weapons to venture into Freeside, and the remaining survivors were split on whether to go after them or not. Not out of concern for their safety, but for the weapons. Whatever got decided, another note reads as follows. The guns were gone. We found Logan's body just within the entrance, but there was no trace of his men. Ida told us they'd probably been dragged off into the shadows by the ghouls we shot. It's official now. Tomorrow, we're packing up and getting the hell out of the city. Unfortunately for them, they had the displeasure of meeting me before they could depart, and well, the rest is history. Very bloody, bullet-ridden history. I loot what I can and depart. Sadly for me, however, apparently indiscriminately killing, eating unidentified meat, and doing copious amount of Class A substances just to keep me running has been less than stellar for my mental health, and as a result, the game cheerfully informs me that I have gone clinically insane. As such, things will start getting a lot more interesting as I try to reflect on my path of carnage I've reaped across the Mojave. With enough mental baggage to get me sectioned, we finally arrive at the gates of Freeside. We stand outside the gates, steel ourselves, repair our weapons, and load them best we can. We take a deep breath and squeeze through the gate as best we can. What we find can only be described as hell. Welcome to Freeside, or more accurately, what's left of it. The place is covered with a cloud and populated with a bunch of Smethwick residents.
I live in Smethwick, Birmingham. If you want the fucking brawl, come down Smethwick Hospitality G. I'll come out of my house and I'll break your fucking legs.
I mean, feral ghouls. A far cry from the once populated and thriving-ish town that existed back in the time of the Courier. But now is not the time for reminiscing, as ghouls drop in on us from all angles. We get to fighting. Whilst the ghouls can be tough if we don't hit headshots, they are manageable. We fight for a few until we see the old Mormon fort. It used to be the headquarters of the followers of the apocalypse, the closest thing to a truly good faction in the wastes, and with this in mind, we head inside to try and find some medical supplies. The followers are decidedly not here. What is here instead is a heavily irradiated, ghoulified but not ferally NCR remnant expedition that treats my visit like a very angry cold caller as they open up on me. The expedition consists of normal troopers and researchers wielding arc welders and radiation suits, but eventually we do manage to take them all down through liberal application of 556 to skulls. On one of the troopers we find this note. We've reached the Vegas barrier. We've set up camp outside the north gate and await that shipment of arc welders from Nellis to cut this thing open. Log entry 5. Freeside. Not much has changed. Still the same old shithole. Took out a couple ghouls, but the boys are still getting ticks on the Geiger counters. Log entry 48. Food's gone. Water's nearly gone. We've all got radiation poisoning, but hey, good fucking news. We found the explosives. Thank God, huh? Sound the fucking bells. We found your mini nukes, Kimball. As if Kimball even knows we're fucking here. Well, we'll let him know. We're gonna light a fire so bright, Kimball think it's the Great War all over again. Clearly, they had been dispatched to scout and find munitions, but had gotten caught, and like everything else, it had gone to shit. Sadly, we don't get to see the massive explosion, but we can't really wait around, so we leave and try to carry on further into Freeside. This is when we encounter our next problem. The normal gate to the next part of Freeside is locked with a hard lock, and I am too stupid to pick it. Fortunately, I've indeed played these games before, so a minor detour takes us through a side alley onto the next part of Freeside. Only downside is that it's chocked full of the cloud, but the power armor and just fucking lagging it manages to keep me alive enough to get out onto the main concourse leading up to the strip gates. But of course, many feral ghouls. So I try to start and fight them. The strip gate is so tantalizing close, the big gate ahead, the lucky 38 towering above it. I was almost there, almost. But then something hits me from behind and I get teleported. Insanity had taken its first true consequence, and I had been attacked by a pair of urban legends known as Shadow Deathclaws that sent me into a fugue state.
There was no fugue state.
I wake up definitely not on the strip. It looks like the beginning, the place that you start the game in when you can choose where to spawn, that I didn't show, but here it is. With the same poster and Vera Key's Begin Again playing gently, except it's upside down. The floor is the ceiling, and the ceiling is the floor. Everything's inverted and wrong and covered in gore. There are 2 bodies on the ground, children, bearing the names Hope and Peace. They each have poems on their bodies detailing how we have lost our mind, fitting for a mod that's entire philosophy can be summed up by fuck you. Now we have a choice. There are doors, 6 of them. I have to pick one to end up somewhere. I pick randomly because what the fuck else am I meant to do in upside down hell? I walk through. I wake up in a shack, not in Freeside, not even near the strip. I check my map and discover that I have somehow managed to wander myself to Lake Mead, or Mead Canyon, as lake doesn't really work for a place with no water anymore. The Fugue state teleported me. I guess that's what happens when you go insane. The hallucination, they can't hurt you, not physically anyway. Emotionally, however, is where they strike, taking all your progress and dumping you somewhere else. And of course, it's the only method of fast travel in the entire game. I step outside the shack and come face to face with a singular legionary, who I quickly dispatch, and a horde of, you guessed it, even more ghouls. We dispose of them and try to get our bearings, and that's when I see it in the distance. Camp Golf. It's one of the last NCR strongholds left in the Mojave, alongside Hoover Dam and Nellis Air Force Base, and where half of the Royce Bernard expedition is based. As for what they actually are, I will get to. Patience, my child. But for now, they are where the NCR forces in the Old Mormon Fort came from. Using my powers of deduction and intelligence, Google, I deduced that the strip key, the most direct way of accessing the strip, is stored in here, and I need that key. So, like any rational human being, I'm going to attack an NCR military base equipped with about a dozen 5.56 rounds, a butter knife, and an undiagnosed mental illness. I mean, fuck it, I've come this far, right? The exterior is, as you'd imagine, quite defended. Watchtowers, sandbags, and heavily armed guards surround the camp. Fortunately for us, we still have power armor and an indomitable will to not pay taxes. So we push forward to the outskirts, taking out the NCR troops, but through careful use of choke points and hiding, we do manage to thin them a lot. Eventually, we managed to clear out the outside of the resort, and now we just have the inside. The first attempt ended quite well. I ran in, my power armor helmet broke at this point, then when trying to run between rooms, I get one-tapped by a veteran ranger in riot gear with an anti-material rifle. Okay, not ideal. There's about 6 to 8 veteran rangers inside, equipped with the best weapons the expedition has. We do it the old-fashioned way, abusing the AI and hiding. And slowly but surely we manage to kill all the rangers, somehow, until all that's left is disparate researchers running around like headless chickens, who we also dispatch. Finally, we take it over. Now we find both the strip key, but we also find something very interesting. Logs. The terminal is a goldmine of information, so I'm gonna get these read out because they do explain so much about what the fuck happened here. The first log is an interrogation log between an NCR sergeant and a tribal from the Dead Bears tribe. I wonder who they hate. They went as follows. What is your name? Do you know why you're here? You are here so that we may learn more about your people. We wish to reduce conflict between the NCR and your tribe. What tribe are you from?
The Dead Bears.
May I ask why your tribe chose that particular name?
You know why.
We'll start again tomorrow. So, from this, we can tell that these tribals really hate the NCR. Why? I assume it has something to do with the demise of the Legion, but there is more here.
You spoke yesterday of a truce between the Dead Bears and the NCR.
Yes? Are you interested?
This will never happen. The Dead Bears hate your kind more than any tribe.
Why do your people hate us?
It isn't just us. Most tribes feel this way. Many, many tribes were raised from the bones of the bull. We still tell our children stories of his death, how you killed him at Hoover Dam.
The NCR is prepared to reimburse you for all previous grievances. This includes high-quality weaponry, medicine, ammunition, camps. All we require of you is a simple expedition west. Your people no doubt know the land well. There is a casino.
I know of where you speak. It is an evil place.
You need not enter the gates. There is a truck outside of the walls. Inside the truck are crates of protective hazardous material suits. Retrieve these suits, and you and your tribe will be well rewarded. Think on it. So, well, this explains how the cloud got to the Mojave. It wasn't Elijah's machinations, which we'll get into later, but instead was self-inflicted by the Republic. How it got so bad, we don't know yet, but all will be revealed in due time. But that's not all. There's also multiple reports on different places and people. A certain Courier, perhaps. The first report details the Vegas expedition. Squad DH654-1 has been sent to Outer Vegas for reconnaissance and supplies extraction. Final destination is Freeside. Possibilities of remaining stores of explosives left by rebel forces likely. Due to the current lack of explosive munitions, the extraction of any explosives in Vegas is paramount. So that answers why exactly the guys in the old Mormon fort were doing there, looking for munitions and to recon. But sadly for them, they never returned for some unknown reason. The next report states, Camp McCarron remains unresponsive to all attempts at contact. Last attempt at contact resulted in heavy casualties for Squad EJ755-9. Further attempts at contact are not recommended. Camp McCarron is fucked. Used to be the HQ of the NCR, but makes sense. The next report is as follows. First Recon Alpha Team reports Operation Extinguish a success, albeit with considerably more casualties than expected. Primary objective sustained, minimal damage during the siege, with an as yet unknown amount of explosive armaments recovered from enemy personnel. Secondary objective was regrettably destroyed by enemy saboteurs, presumably in a last-ditch attempt to prevent the desired technologies from being secured. Captain Gorobets further stressed Nellis AFB's tactical significance in the region, including its easily fortified entrance and self-sustainability. Key to Nellis's main entrances have been provided to Camp Gulf and Black Mountain personnel for ease of access between facilities. This confirms two things. The boomers are dead and buried, and that this expedition has significant presence in at least Gulf, Black Mountain, and Nellis AFB. Information that will be useful later for no specific reason. The next report is very interesting. Courier 6 remains an elusive yet dangerous target for expeditionary forces. While not technically a priority for the expedition, confirmation of Courier 6's death, natural or otherwise, remains an unofficial high priority for General Moore and other veteran members of the expedition's military. Courier 6's last confirmed sighting is dated early 2287, coinciding with the Republic's full withdrawal from the region. It is very likely Courier 6, or at least his corpse, is still somewhere in Meade Canyon, as evidenced by the multitude of traps still within the valley. It is for this reason that we have yet to send any strike teams after Courier 6, as there is simply too big of a risk with the hundreds of traps and explosives covering that sector. Addendum 9/30/81. NCR-affiliated bounty hunters have since been enlisted to, at the very least, confirm if Courier 6 is still alive. The report that we are given, if they return at all, will heavily dictate our actions moving forward. Big boy Courier 6 is still alive. That is very interesting. And not too far away from Gulf, in the dried out bed of Meade Canyon, that apparently is inundated with traps, but is good information to have for the future for no specific reason. But the final log is most relevant to our immediate goals. The efforts of the Lucky 38 research team seem to have at least been partially successful. The reservoir, despite the intense bombardment of radioactive particles, is now completely free of contamination. Extraction of all lab equipment and research notes from the Lucky 38 is now our top priority. This is to remain classified. Expeditionary teams will be told that their mission is weapon extraction. So, if we want to figure out what the fuck went wrong in this hellhole, we gotta head to the Lucky 38, which, ironically, is where we're headed anyway. With the full log consumed, we head out. Our goal beyond getting into the Lucky 38 goes back to when we first started. Obviously, you wouldn't know this due to me being an amazing filmmaker. We spawned with a note beckoning us to the sewers below Vegas, to the home of the Resistance. Sounds like a good place to start. With the goal of finding an entrance to the sewers below Vegas, we decide to depart back Vegas way, and fortunately through the power of Google, we find an entrance to the sewers. Coincidentally, it's right outside the ex-Crimson Caravan Company. Despite my actions, the morally arguable atrocities that I've committed, the idea of finding someone remotely friendly to stop being alone for 5 fucking minutes is enticing. I make my way to the hatch, open it, and descend, finally hoping for some respite from the red hellhole above. It was, in fact, not. I make my way carefully in, see some people chilling. I decide to get closer, but they stand up and reach for their weapons, and I was faster, putting them down faster than they can attack me. I search their bodies and discover human flesh. Either the Resistance has some flexible morals, or the Resistance has been obliterated and replaced by a massive group of cannibals. And boy, are there a lot of them. And if it isn't cannibals, it's cloud people, and if it isn't cloud people, it's failed test subjects. These sewers are, quite frankly, the complete opposite of safety, serving as a dumping ground for everything wrong with the Mojave right now. We find the corpses of some poor souls, one possessing this note that basically confirms what we can see. It was a trap the whole time. There was never a settlement. There was never a way out. They broke the ladders and waited for us to wander into their hands. They gave us keys that led to nowhere and watched us go, like sheep, to the slaughter. The game was rigged from the start, but I won't let them have the satisfaction of winning. I fold. We can guess what happened to them after that. Bit fucking depressing, to be honest, but we must soldier on. The sewers were indeed once home to the resistance, against the NCR specifically, but after the NCR military dumped test subjects, cloud people, and mass amounts of radiation down here, the resistance fizzled out rather fast. That's when the cannibals moved in and used the existing infrastructure of notes that talk of the resistance being in the sewers as a pretty renewable source of meat. And to be fair, that is far smarter than I'd expect from Kuru-infested people, but here you go. But we do continue exploring the sewers in case we find anything interesting. And we do. We come across some dumped failed test subjects, but beyond that, a door. A locked one. But then we try the strip key we got from Golf. It fits and opens. The utilitarian backdrop of the sewers give way to the faux luxury of the Vegas casinos. We ascend and ascend, and eventually, we find ourselves in the Lucky 38. But it's different. Gone are the standing Securitrons and the effortless gambling aura, instead replaced by a lab. Rows and rows of test subjects lie on roulette tables, researchers lie dead on the floor, mass experimental equipment cluttered around. And best of all, centaurs. So many fucking centaurs. These horrific mutant things that are multiple creatures fused together. I clear them as best I can. Okay, time for a proper lore dump about what went wrong. The Lucky 38 is where most of it happened. This was Edwin Royst's lab, the place where the NCR ran their experiments, and I need to explain the full story because it's fucked. He was a scientist, one with a lofty goal that committed unimaginable horrors in the pursuit of it. Let's start with the Royce-Bernard expedition. This is the NCR operation currently in the Mojave, and makes for most of the NCR forces you'll encounter, apart from the deserters. It's named after two people, Edwin Royce and Lydia Bernard, both scientists. Royce the primary lead, and Bernard was his assistant. She's currently stationed at the Black Mountain Camp, the place we heard about in the Camp Gulf logs. This expedition isn't here to help. They're here to cover their asses. See, Royce is on trial back in California for crimes against humanity. The NCR government finally figured out what was going on in the Mojave, probably because some of their cities randomly turned into cloud-added wastelands, and decided that maybe, just maybe, experimenting on civilians and creating bioweapons that killed thousands of people was bad, actually. So they both sent this expedition, using NCR military resources and backed by General Moore, once Colonel Moore, to gather evidence, to prove that their research was worth it, that the incalculable human cost was justified, that they shouldn't be executed for what they did. The judge overseeing the trial is Elizabeth Ware, a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse. She sent her own expedition to the sewers to gather evidence against them. They found a veritable mountain of the stuff, but unfortunately the conditions got to them and they didn't make it out. But you might be asking, what exactly did these two do that was so bad? So let me explain. Edwin Royce started in Vault 21 under Freeside. His original job was simple, noble even, to cure radiation sickness. The NCR was losing soldiers to radiation exposure. They wanted a cure so their troops could operate in contaminated zones without dying. And to their credit, they did create potent experimental Rad-X and Rad-Away, with the only downside being it slowly kills you, which isn't ideal. The issue was, to develop a cure, you need test subjects. To that end, the Mojave NCR started grabbing Freesiders, just snatching people off the streets. Drifters, addicts, anyone who wouldn't be missed. Told them they were being relocated to work camps. Instead, they got brought to Royce's lab, where he'd expose them to lethal doses of radiation, test different treatments, and record how long they survived. Most of them died, and as you can imagine, Freeside wasn't best pleased with being used as guinea pigs. Then his research expanded, started experimenting with FEV, the forced evolutionary virus, trying to create radiation-resistant humans through mutation perhaps. That's where the centaurs came from, plentiful samples to test where their radiation resistance came from. Then the NCR found the Sierra Madre. They sent an expedition, that casino from the Dead Money DLC, the place with the cloud and the ghost people and all that fun stuff. They brought back samples of the cloud. But here's the thing, they didn't go alone. They used tribals as labor. Specifically the Dead Bears, former Legion tribals who the NCR had, let's say, recruited, and the interrogation logs show this. The NCR promised the Dead Bears weapons, medicine, ammunition, chems. All they had to do was help with an expedition to a casino. Retrieve some hazmat suits from a truck outside, a simple job. The Dead Bears knew about the Sierra Madre, they called it an evil place, but they took the deal. What they didn't know was that Father Elijah had gotten to these tribals. Elijah, the old Brotherhood elder from the Mojave, who was in dead money, who was obsessed with the old world and the casino. He hadn't died. Instead, he had made contact with the dead bears and poisoned their minds against the NCR. The tribals worshipped him like they venerated Caesar, called him the Father and followed his instructions, which was to sabotage the cloud samples, but not obviously. Just subtle changes that made them unstable, reactive, and prone to containment breach. The NCR didn't notice. Why would they? The tribals were meant to just be stupid, foolish cave people. They were just labor helping. So the NCR brought these sabotage samples back to the Mojave, to the Lucky 38, and even beyond that to mainland NCR territories, the Boneyard, and other prominent NCR cities, never realizing they were time bombed. The NCR ordered Royce to study the cloud, weaponize it, make it better. I mean, the original cloud was already dangerous. It could kill you in a few minutes if exposed without protection, but there were ways around it. Royce refined it, created what he called SM5, a variant 5 times more potent than the original, which is just great. And he went ahead and tested it on even more Freesiders, which obviously didn't sit well with them. This alongside leaked plans to evacuate all non-military personnel from the Mojave due to the impending threats, the devastating dust clouds from the Divide, the tunnelers, and the cloud, it boiled over into full-blown rebellion, kickstarted by a curfew that the NCR put into place, which was the final nail in the coffin. The Kings, alongside the rest of the Freeside families, the Van Graffs and the Garrett twins, they went into full-blown open rebellion. Around here is when the worst case scenario happened. The cloud escaped. The exact circumstances are cloudy. All we know is that it erupted from the Lucky 38, killing and transforming everyone it came into contact with. Civilians, NCR soldiers, everyone. The NCR's response was immediate. Seal the strip, nobody out. Containment over rescue. Everybody trapped inside was left to die. Apparently this is when the Freeside Rebellion tried to save as many people as possible, getting as many people into the sewers to try and escape the cloud, which is when the NCR dumped radioactive materials into the sewers and initiated the evacuation. But the cloud didn't stop in Vegas. The full extent is impossible to know, especially with the information from the game, but we know it at least hit several NCR cities and likely spread out across former Legion territory, Arizona and New Mexico, likely carried by the winds. It was apparently Elijah's revenge. The sabotage samples likely amplified the fallout, made the NCR bring their own apocalypse home, made them kill their own citizens with the weapons they'd created. The NCR eventually cleared the cloud from the Boneyard. Took years, massive resources, proved it could be done, probably. But the Mojave, Vegas, too far gone. Royst's enhanced cloud had mixed with the radioactive dust storm, created something even worse. Even if they could clear it, and they probably could, it would cost too much and take too long, so they abandoned it. Cleared the Boneyard because it was California, core NCR territory, but Vegas could rot. 20 years later, the strip is still contaminated, still killing everyone who gets close. So now Royce and Bernard are on trial for crimes against humanity, for the experiments, for creating the cloud weapon, for the thousands of deaths. And they sent this expedition, the one we've been fighting, to prove it was all worth it. The Camp Golf logs mentioned that Roy's research team at the Lucky 38 had at least partially succeeded at something. That extracting all lab equipment and research notes was now top priority, classified. The expedition teams were told they were extracting weapons, not evidence for a war crimes trial. That's what the Royce Bernard expedition is. A desperate attempt by 2 war criminals to justify what they did. To gather proof that their research saved lives, that the enhanced cloud worked, that the radiation cure research had value. Bernard's still in the Mojave, still at Black Mountain, still trying to gather evidence, still trying to avoid execution. We'll deal with her later. But for now, we gotta get out of here. I head out into the strip proper. The cloud is everywhere. Ghouls and ghost people shambling through red mist. I tried to push forward, but the way's blocked. The Shadow Deathclaw gets me again. Everything goes dark. Again. I wake up in that same shack near Camp Golf. Again. The Shadow Deathclaw teleported me. Away from the strip. Away from my goal. I'm getting really tired of this. But I know where I want to go now. The Camp Golf logs mentioned Courier 6, still alive, still at Lake Mead. Or Mead Canyon, since there's no water anymore. Hiding in a trap-filled canyon, killing anyone who gets close. The NCR's been trying to confirm if he's dead for 20 years, sent bounty hunters, but none came back. Time to go see what winning at Hoover Dam brought him. Lake Mead in the base game was a reservoir, a big body of water east of Vegas. Hoover Dam controlled it, the NCR had camps around it. It was inherently strategic, understandably important, and worth fighting over. In dust, there's no water. Just a dried out canyon, cracked earth, old skeletons, and traps. So many fucking traps. I find the first one fast. Landmine, leg broken. Ow. Then another, and another, and another. Courier 6 has been busy. Deeper in, I find ruins of an NCR camp. Shacks abandoned and dilapidated. But below the camp, arranged on the floor, is a message spelled out in corpses and weapons. Fuck NCR. The bodies are positioned to form the fuck and the weapons of the NCR. The Courier did this, killed these soldiers, and left them here as a warning. Honestly based, I also hate taxes. Even deeper in, I see the crashed bomber. It's a B-29 crashed on the base of the canyon. The boomers wanted this thing. It's mentioned in the base game. The Courier was supposed to help them get it operational, raise it from the lake bed, which clearly never happened. It's still here as rusted and broken as ever. Over 200 years of exposure to the elements. There's a locked crate next to it, advanced lock. I pick it, and inside is energy weapons, plasma rifles, laser rifles. Good condition. The Courier was stockpiling. There are dead tunnelers nearby, 3 of them shot. The Courier's been fighting them too. A note on the crate gives us our first content from the Courier, speaking of how he was right, that the tunnelers had come to the Mojave and hunted relentlessly. Ulysses, the guy from the Lonesome Road DLC. Mr. Bear Bull Bear Man himself. Kinda wholesome to see, still thinking about him even now. And behind this downed monument to the old world, we find it. The tomb, the final resting place of Courier 6. We climb down a ladder into a decently expansive cave. The first thing we see is 2 dead NCR bounty hunters, clearly having been tortured, and a broken Securitron with an audio log on it. The bounty hunters have the contract for 6 that basically just explains what we know. That the Courier was in the cave and that extreme caution should be used. The Securitron has a log detailing a breakdown from the Courier that goes as follows.
They tried to pin this on me, you know? All of this. After Hoover Dam, the NCR had a price on my head. They said I was a terrorist. A war criminal. All I did for Vegas. I fucking did for Vegas. I fucking did. A price for a head. And now you've come to pay it.
Clearly, his mind isn't quite what it used to be. And he takes his anger out on these bounty hunters, which is kind of valid. But we carry on deeper. There are many Mark II Securitrons deeper protecting him, so we use the energy weapons found earlier. Eventually, it's just us and him. He's at the back of the cave, waiting. Ghoulified, skin rotted off in patches, no hair, features smoothed over into that characteristic ghoulish appearance. But he's not feral. He's wearing Ulysses' duster, that coat from Lonesome Road, old world flag on the back, and he's holding a weapon I recognize, a custom M1 Garand. Modded, maintained, clean. He doesn't say anything, just raises the rifle. I shoot first. 1 shot, headshot, critical. He drops, just like that. No boss fight, no dramatic confrontation, no final words. Just a ghoul with a rifle who died to a headshot like everything else in the Mojave. I loot his body. The duster, the Garand, some ammunition. The Courier, the hero of New Vegas. The person who won at Hoover Dam and saved the Mojave. 20 years later, he's a ghoulified hermit living in a trap-filled canyon, killing anyone who gets close, waiting for death. This is what winning looks like. I take his gear and leave. I guess the house does always win, one way or another. With the Courier dead, I head to Hoover Dam. According to the Camp Gulf logs, it's one of the NCR's last strongholds. General Moore is stationed there, the military commander of the Royst Bernard expedition. In the base game, Moore was Colonel Moore, NCR officer, hardliner, wanted to annex Vegas completely. The Courier, or I guess my Courier, told her to fuck off. She got promoted, now she's a general, and she's in charge of the expedition trying to cover up war crimes. I need to kill her. The dam's defenses are significant. More than Camp Gulf. Snipers, heavy troopers in power armors, rangers, turrets, the whole works. I fight my way in. It takes maybe an hour. I die 3 times, reload. Try different approaches. Eventually, I find a route that works. Through a different entrance, exiting and entering to kind of fuck with the AI. Inside the dam, I find Moore's command post. She's there, surrounded by guards, veteran rangers, and so many troopers, honestly, it's kind of ridiculous. The best the NCR has. The fight's brutal. They coordinate, use cover, suppress me with automatic fire while others flank. It's the hardest fight I've had since Camp Gulf. But I win, through power armor, VATS abuse, safe scumming. Eventually, they're all dead. Moore died as fast and easy as the rest of them. I could interrogate her, but I literally can't. To be fair, can't blame her for not speaking to a psychosis-ridden man in power armor that loves the taste of human flesh. On her, I find a note from a journal. It speaks about how they took back over the dam in 2299, that it was good to see the dam again, and that too much life was lost trying to hold it, just to abandon it like ex-General Oliver had wanted. I think he's like the president now or something. That she doesn't give a damn about Royce or his ilk, and she just wants the dead to have died for a reason. Too late now for sympathies. Too late now. Moore's dead, and Bernard's the only one left in the Mojave. And I know where she is. Honestly, I'm not even entirely sure why we're on a death crusade to take down the last remnants of the NCR and the Mojave. Maybe it's from some sort of misplaced morality, or some vendetta for turning the Mojave into what it is. Either way, only one person left and I've come this far. I make my way to Black Mountain. This place used to be a radio tower, a refuge for super mutants, and a voice on the radio in the form of Tabitha. They are now long gone. It's now an NCR outpost, one of the last left outside of Nellis AFB after me. This is where the other half of Royce Bernard makes home, still trying to save the both of them. I make my way up the mountain. The approach is defended, but not by soldiers. Instead, it's guarded by hordes of feral ghouls. After we get through them and to the main buildings, we find the remaining NCR soldiers barricaded inside. The situation is due to Bernard sending half the troops away to get research materials. Whilst she is arguably a great scientist, a tactician she is not. Inside these buildings, I systematically clear out the rest of the NCR stationed here until it comes down to the last building. Bernard is behind a locked door, but before that is a terminal with some logs on that help reveal her motivations.
It's good to be back at dear old Black Mountain. We've set up camp at the old radio station. Back in the day, our samples were limited. The troops never wanted to linger long for fear of those super mutants that used to live here. That's no longer an issue. I hope to fully examine the craters within the next week, and maybe even a mutant autopsy if I'm lucky. Looks like the radiation's returned again. When the Lucky 38 was still set up and running, we could blast this place with that experimental cleanser. It worked, kind of. Although it did melt just about all organic life off of the cliff face. Guess it's worthwhile we decommission that line. I'll see about getting double rad X rations for our next supply drop. Gulf sent a scouting force down to Vegas again. Prove what we'd all been thinking. Where's little investigation is long gone. Maybe Lawson and I can help reverse the charges. She's got no more evidence after all. Message sent. I should receive a response in the next few weeks. Once the resupply airdrop comes in, surely she'll listen to reason. She's got nothing, and the research we completed, the research we still could complete with those supplies, that takes priority. Ethics has no place in the laboratory. God damn it all. The bitch responded all right. She's pressing forward, and it looks like she may have more evidence than we thought. It's time to take things into our own hands. I'll see if Camp Gulf can get together a hit squad of some sort. Elizabeth Ware must die. Started looking at the old journal entries here. Interesting stuff. Looks like there was some repairman held captive by the old super mutant inhabitants here. Good thing we came along, I guess. Although a bit too late, it would seem. It looks like the repairman set the password to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
She clearly has issues with seeing beyond just her experiments, but that is an issue that shan't plague her for long. I use the password to open the door. Behind it is a single NCR trooper and Bernard. I drop the trooper fast. She tries to run, but she doesn't get far. I put 2 bullets in her head and she collapses across the desk. On her body, I find a note from Elizabeth Ware, the judge presiding over the case.
Addressed to Miss Lydia Bernard & Co. I couldn't care less about whatever miracle cures Royce cooked up in their hellscape. Tell your friends at the Mojave to stop sending me letters. The trial will continue and Royce will be convicted. What he did at the Lucky 38 was a crime against humanity and is worthy of the harshest sentence our law can provide. And to Miss Bernard in particular, do not assume because you have friends in high places that you are above our courts. This little field trip of yours is an unsanctioned use of new California Republic military assets, which I'm sure you are well aware is a capital offense. Know this, Miss Bernard. A full report on you and your ilk's treacherous actions has been forwarded to President Oliver's desk, and until my dying breath, I will ensure you, Moore Lawson, and every last one of your traitorous subordinates face Republic justice. Elizabeth Ware, New California Republic Judiciary Court.
Well, we gave her some good old-fashioned wasteland justice. Maybe a bit too quick, but it's over now. I loot her body, take what I need and leave. The Royst-Bernard expedition is over. Royst is going to be found guilty. Bernard's dead. Moore's dead. Just scattered NCR troops left at Nellis and maybe some other outposts. Leaderless, cut off. Now I need to get out of the Mojave, and I know how. With Bernard executed, Moore dead, and the Courier buried, there's only really one thing left to do. Get the fuck out of here. The main question is how. There are a few ways out, from escaping through Zion, getting to Big MT, or even repairing a plane. But the one I will be getting to is Camp McCarron, because of course, the lost NCR installation inundated with rogue NCR elements and enough feral ghouls to make the Walking Dead blush is my best idea. There is a vertibird near the back, visible from outside, one of the only operational aircraft left in the region. If I can get into Camp McCarron, I can fly out, leave this place behind, but there's a problem. Naturally. I need a key to access the McCarron monorail to get to the airport, and that key is in the NCR embassy, on the strip, behind the ghouls and the locked gates. Time to return to Vegas. One last time. I make my way back to Freeside, through the north gate. The place is still full of ghouls, still choked with the cloud, but I know the route now, past the fort, through the detours that bypass the locked gate. I reach the strip approach again, shoot a massive centaur that explodes, thanks Insanity, and shoot the 2 shadow deathclaws, and I manage to get to the gate. I slot in the key, and the gate grinds open, 20 years of rust and disuse. I step onto the strip proper. The cloud is everywhere, thicker than before. My power armor's rad counter is climbing fast. I pop some rad eggs, it helps, but not enough. I can see the Gomorrah ahead, that casino from the base game, owned by the Omertas, mafia types. In the base game, you could do quests for them or expose their plans to attack the strip. In Dust, it's full of cannibals. I don't have a choice. The direct route to the embassy is blocked by that crashed truck. I have to go through Gomorrah, through the interior, and out the other side. The casino floor is a massacre. Bodies everywhere. Skeletons, NCR soldiers, civilians, all dead for 20 years. And cannibals, lots of them. They set up camp in the casino, made it their base. There are cooking fires, meat racks, tents. The fight's brutal. They've got numbers, they know the terrain, but I've got power armor and better weapons. I push through, room by room, gunfire echoing off the walls. I clear the casino floor, head upstairs, and finally get to the cashier room, and use a gate to bypass the crashed truck that blocks the second part of the strip, closer to the embassy. The Tops is ahead, another casino owned by Benny in the base game, the guy who shot you at the start of New Vegas. The game was rigged from the start. In Dust, it's full of ghouls. Using the bypass, I drop down into a pool area. I have to run through the Tops main floor to get out onto the strip. It's even more infested, but the NCR embassy is right ahead. I get to it. There are actual survivors here, gone insane but still capable of using guns, dispersed with insane feral ghouls. I kill them and enter the embassy. The embassy in the base game was the NCR's diplomatic building on the strip, where Ambassador Crocker worked, where you'd go for NCR quests. In Dust, it's sealed tight. Barricades, the NCR locked it down when they evacuated. But I need to get inside, the monorail key is in there. I go inside and kill everyone, retrieve the key. The final blockage between me and freedom. All that I need to do now is run. The monorail station is near the embassy by the Ultralux, a platform that connects to Camp McCarron. In the base game, you could ride it if you had good NCR reputation. In Dust, the monorail's been offline for 20 years, but the key should still work, should still grant access. I head to the station. I ignore the hordes and beeline inside. The monorail is still on, so I board and finally reach McCarron. This is just the start of my issues, as NCR soldiers stuck here greet me and immediately start unloading into me. Camp McCarron in the base game was the NCR's main base in the Mojave. Massive, military airport, hundreds of soldiers, the heart of their operations. In Dust, it's a war zone. The place is overrun with ghouls, feral ghouls, glowing ones. They're everywhere. There are also NCR remnants, soldiers who never left, who've been fighting the ghouls for 20 years. They're holed up in defensive positions, shooting anything that moves. The ghouls and the NCR are fighting each other, and I'm in the middle. I don't fight, I run. Through the main terminal, out onto the concourse, ghouls and NCR soldiers shooting at each other and at me. I dodge, weave, keep moving. Out onto the runway, I can see the vertibird in the distance, at the rear of the base on a landing pad. I run, full sprint, ghouls chasing me, NCR soldiers shooting at me from towers, bullets pinging off my power armor. I reach the landing pad, climb up. The vertibird's there, operational, fueled, waiting. I climb inside, hit the ignition. The rotors start spinning, slow at first, then faster. The vertibird lifts off. I'm airborne, rising above McCarron, above the ghouls, above the NCR, above the Mojave. I look down, see the base shrinking below me, see the cloud in the distance, see the dead wasteland stretching in every direction. I'm free, finally free. The vertibird's autopilot is set. I sit back, close my eyes, let the aircraft take me away as I try not to think about all the atrocities I've committed getting here. I wake up to alarms blaring. The vertibird's shaking, something's wrong. I check the instruments. The intake vents are clogged, failing. The engines are overheating. I find a note in the cockpit, someone's log detailing that the intake vents keep clogging because of the cloud, but the most alarming thing is where the autopilot was actually set, the Sierra Madre. We crash and awake in a state of disarray and fire. I come to in the wreckage. The vertebrates destroyed, crashed in front of the Sierra Madre's main entrance. I'm hurt, but alive. The power armor took most of the impact. I climb out, look around. I'm in the Sierra Madre, the casino from the Dead Money DLC that I've mentioned a few times at this point. The place where the cloud originated, where Father Elijah ran his experiments, where he tried to trap the Courier. The main fountain is ahead. In the base game, this is where you meet the other companions, where the heist would begin. In Dust, it's a graveyard. There are bodies everywhere, skeletons, hundreds of them. Tribal and NCR mixed together. And in the center, slumped against the fountain, Father Elijah. He's dead, has been for years. His body's mummified, preserved by the dry air and the cloud. I search his body, find notes, holotapes, his final recordings. The first one, a note explaining what happened.
Tribals rioted last night, killed the officers. NCR collapsed the front gate, the only gate. Only other way out of here is the sewer line to Vegas or the boneyard, and they're covered in the cloud. Only consolation, I suppose. Beat the NCR. I can only hope something better will take their place.
He also possesses a sermon written for the tribals.
My children, for over 200 years, humanity has wallowed in filth. We have felt the pain of hunger, the burn of radiation, and the sting of harsh winds on our face. But it was not always like this. There was a time when life was easy, when life was long. We call it the old world, a time of paradise and plenty. Well, today, we sit at the precipice of the old world, thanks to your sacrifices. I am able to stand here before you and welcome you to the new old world. You have done well, my children. The weapons you have delivered the bearmen have destroyed them. Their cities now lie in ruins. Soon, my army of robots will come here to rescue you, and we shall be revered above all others as the saviors of the wasteland. Let us drink now to glorious victory and the days to come.
His army never came, the holograms never left, the robots never activated. He died waiting for a resurrection that never happened. But his revenge worked. It succeeded. The NCR's expansion into the Mojave ended with the cloud. The boneyard burned, thousands died, all because Elijah couldn't let go of the past. But on him he has a sewer key, the sewer he talked about in his note. That is our path out. Whilst it can go to the Mojave, it can also go to the boneyard, to freedom, hopefully. The sewer entrance is on a random road, down a ladder, into tunnels that smell of rot and chemicals. The sewers are full of ghost people, those hazmat-suited things that won't stay dead. I fight my way through, dismembering them, making sure they can't get back up. The tunnels seem to go on forever, branching, splitting. Keep moving forward, keep killing ghost people. Finally, I see a light ahead, a ladder, leading up. Safety. I emerge into sunlight. Not the red-tinted darkness of the Mojave, not the artificial light of the sewers, either here or under Vegas, not the dust clouds that had plagued the Mojave for decades at that point. Actual sunlight. Clear sky, no cloud. I find myself standing in a refugee camp. Tents, medical stations, NCR soldiers standing guard, doctors, civilians, people who are alive and yet not trying to kill me. This is Camp Aditium. I made it. We made it. We actually made it out. The air doesn't taste like metal and death. The sky is blue. Except the world has ended, just not here. Not yet. I'm out. I escaped the Mojave. I survived. But I can't stop thinking about what I left behind. The Courier dead in his canyon. Moore and Bernard executed for crimes they thought were necessary. The settlement's full of cannibals, the strip still sealed and toxic 20 years later. Vegas rotting under the cloud that was supposed to save it. I survived, but what did I become to survive? How many people did I kill? How many did I eat? The game never told me, no statistics screen, no final tally, just escape. And maybe that's better. Maybe I don't want to know. The Mojave is still out there, still dying, still waiting for somebody to save it, and nobody's coming. The Courier tried to save it and died waiting for enemies that stopped coming 20 years ago. The NCR tried to weaponize it and killed thousands of their own people with the weapon they created. Elijah tried to destroy it and succeeded only in making everything worse. His revenge worked, the NCR burned, but so did everyone else. Everyone who tried to save the Mojave killed it instead. And I just walked through the corpse, looted it, ate from it, became part of it. 20 years after the Courier won at Hoover Dam, the Mojave is dead. The cloud still hangs over Vegas. The tunnelers still hunt in the permanent darkness. The settlements are empty. The people are gone. Just scattered survivors eating each other to stay alive one more day. And somewhere in California, Edwin Royst is sitting in a courtroom being tried for crimes against humanity, for creating the weapon that killed his own people, for experiments that saved no one, for trying to cure radiation sickness and ending up weaponizing death instead. The Courier won at Hoover Dam, secured Vegas's independence, became a legend. It didn't matter. None of it mattered. The Mojave died anyway. Royst wanted to save lives and killed thousands. The Courier wanted to free Vegas and it suffocated under the cloud. Elijah wanted revenge and got it, but died in a tomb waiting for an army that never came. Moore wanted to justify the deaths and died with nothing to show for it. Bernard wanted to prove it was all worth it and died trying. Everyone who touched the Mojave tried to make it better and made it worse. And all that's left is dust. The sun finishes setting. The sky goes dark, real dark, not Mojave dark, when you're never sure if something's about to kill you, just night. Normal night with stars. I'm safe, I'm out, I escaped. But the Mojave is still there, still dying, still full of people trying to survive, still full of monsters that used to be people. Nobody's coming. That's what winning looks like in the Mojave. That's what Dust is. A game about what happens after the hero's story ends and the world keeps rotting without them. Welcome to the Mojave. The Courier won. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. The Mojave died anyway. And all that's left is dust. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Before I get into the main stuff, this is a little dour, honestly, a little downer ending, but end of November last year, one of my two cats died, which is why the videos kind of slowed down a bit. I've been trying to add it into one of these after bits, but it's been a bit, you know. So, yeah, this video dedicated to Ferdinand. He's survived by Franz. Yes, my cat's name was Franz and Ferdinand. I am a nerd. But yeah, I'll have a little tribute on the screen now, but sorry for downer, but feels right. But yes, I hope you did enjoy the video. Thanks so much for watching. This one's long as hell, but honestly, I went for a different style with the script, if you couldn't tell, but I do still hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below what you'd like to see more. I have a few videos planned, so you'll be seeing me more frequently than you have been. I've been trying to expand, so to say, because I do enjoy making videos. Recording this has been a slog, but yeah, thank you so much to the guest voice people. I think it'll just be Croc and Ice Bear. But thank you so much for doing that, all of you. Thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Well, we're getting to 100K by the end of the year. Hopefully halfway through the year. Hopefully I don't need to wait till the end. Shut up, phone. Also, sorry if you heard a cat meowing. That was the other one. She's fucking needy, bro. Honestly, I swear to God. The amount of times during recording where I'm just sat here and then she's like meow, 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 meow. Bro. I know. My lobster is too buttery, my steak is too juicy, but it does get quite annoying. But yes, anyway, so as always, thank you so much. Flapjack, 8th Heretic, Vested Voice, Pewter Hailstorm, Will Provine, Rasulki Ryler, Idini Los, Kiofer, Andrew Sherman, Shaddix, Reese Lunn, Ellie Kitty, Aroxano, A Brick Wall, Ash Crowing, Crit Croc, My Horror Project, Proxy, Sign Up King, Ministry of Defense, Ice Bear, and Vinicus Franco. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you wanna, do all this stuff, then do what you want. You can support me as well if you want. It would be appreciated, but obviously not necessary. But yeah, thank you all so much, and I guess I will see you in